Betrayal cuts deepest when it comes from family, and sometimes the people you help the most are the ones who hurt you the worst. I canceled her card. Just like that. One click, done. And I do it again without hesitation. My name is Evelyn Garner, and at 67 years old, after 38 years driving a city bus, after raising two boys alone, after surviving breast cancer and burying the mama who raised me, I thought I'd seen the worst life could throw at me. I was wrong, because the real pain didn't come from the streets of Richmond, Virginia. It didn't come from strangers or bad luck or the hand life dealt me. It came from inside my own home, from the woman who married my oldest son, from the girl who called me Mama Eve with a smile so sweet I never saw the knife behind her back. Her name was Tiana. And what she did, what I discovered she'd been doing while I was trying to help her family survive, it still makes my hand shake. Not from fear, not even from anger anymore, from the memory of how close we came to losing everything because I made one simple choice. I tried to be kind. See, when your son comes to you and says his family's struggling, when he tells you he's going back to school to build a better life, but money's tight and his wife is worried about feeding the kids, what are you supposed to do? You help. That's what mothers do. So I gave her a debit card, just a small emergency account for groceries and gas, I told her, looking her straight in the eyes. Just the essentials. She nodded. She promised. She thanked me 3 times. That promise lasted 2 weeks. Then the charges started. Nail salons, boutiques, hair appointments that cost more than my electric bill. But the real shock, the thing that broke the camel's back, came on a Thursday afternoon when I was sitting on my porch with sweet tea, watching the neighborhood kids play. My phone buzzed. Fraud alert. $329 at Luxury Tresses Lounge for the second time in 3 days, while my son was eating ramen between classes. I stared at that number until my vision blurred. That's when Jamal's car pulled up to my house. One look at his face, and I knew. He knew. Mama, he sat down heavy in the chair next to mine. Did you tell Tiana she could use that car for whatever she wanted? Before I could answer, his phone rang. And that girl, that woman I'd welcomed into my family with open arms, she started screaming so loud I could hear every single word. I know your mama ain't trying to start no mess. She the one who said I could use it. If she got a problem, she can cancel the card herself. Then came the words that changed everything. I ain't begging that old lady for nothing. Old lady? Jamal looked at me with shame and pain written all over his face. Mama, I'm so sorry. But I wasn't listening anymore. I stood up, walked inside, opened my banking app, and canceled that card without a second thought. What happened next shocked everyone. Because the card was just the beginning. What I learned about Tiana in the days that followed, the secret she'd been hiding, the lies she'd been telling, the danger she put my entire family in, it didn't just change how I saw her. It changed everything. Let me take you back so you understand why this hurt the way it did. My name is Evelyn Garner, but everyone who knows me calls me Eve. I've lived in Richmond, Virginia for all 67 years of my life, born 3 blocks from where I live now, raised in a house where love was abundant, but money wasn't. My mama cleaned houses for white families on the west side, while my daddy worked construction until his back gave out when I was 12. I learned early that nobody was coming to save us. If we wanted better, we had to work for it. So I did. I got my CDL license at 23 and started driving the number 12 bus route. Same streets, same stops, same faces, day after day for 38 years. Those passengers became more than just people I transported. They were my family. I knew Miss Jenkins needed help with her groceries every Tuesday. I knew Mr. Howard's dialysis schedule by heart. I knew which kids needed an encouraging word before school and which ones just needed someone to see them. But my real family, my blood, that's where my heart lived. I had two boys. Jamal came first, then DeAndre, 2 years later. Their father, Marcus, he left when they were still babies, walked out on a Tuesday morning saying he needed cigarettes, and never came back. No goodbye, no explanation, no child support, just gone. So it was just me and my boys and my mama, who stepped in to help raise them when I was working doubles to keep the lights on. Some nights I came home so exhausted I fall asleep in my uniform, boots still laced, too tired to even make it to my bedroom. My mama would cover me with a blanket and whisper prayers over me while I slept. "You doing good, baby," she'd tell me in the morning. "These boys gonna know what sacrifice looks like. They gonna remember." And they did. Jamal grew up steady and responsible. The kind of son who helped with bills at 15 without being asked, who walked his brother to school every morning even when it made him late, who held down 2 jobs while finishing high school because he saw how hard I was working and wanted to help carry the load. DeAndre, my youngest, he's different. Got a heart bigger. 8 months ago, everything shifted. Jamal came to see me on a Saturday afternoon. No phone call first. No text asking if I was home. He just showed up and sat down at my kitchen table with his hands folded in front of him like a man about to confess something he wasn't proud of. "Mama, I need to tell you something." I poured him coffee and sat down across from him, already bracing myself. When your child starts the conversation like that, you know it's either very good or very bad. "I'm going back to school," he said. "HVAC, certification, 6-month program. If I pass, I can double what I'm making at the shop." Pride bloomed in my chest. My boy still trying to better himself at 32 years old. "That's wonderful, baby. I'm proud of you." His smile faded. "But I can't work full time while I'm in classes. Money's gonna be tight, real tight. Tiana's scared, Mama. She's worried we won't be able to feed the kids." There it was, the real reason for the visit. I reached across the table and covered his hands with mine. "What do you need?" "Mama, I can't ask you to—" "You're not asking. I'm offering. What do you need?" He looked down at our hands, his eyes getting wet. "Just help with groceries and gas so Tiana can get the kids to school. That's it. Once I finish the program and get a better job, we'll be fine. I just need to get through these 6 months." I didn't hesitate. Consider it done. 2 days later, I went to my bank and set up a separate debit card linked to my emergency account. It wasn't my main checking, just a small fund I kept for unexpected expenses, about $1,500 that I'd saved over the previous year, enough to help without putting myself at risk. I called Tiana and asked her to stop by. She arrived that afternoon with the kids in the car, looking more stressed than I'd seen her before. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, no makeup, dark circles under her eyes. She looked like a woman carrying the weight of the world. We stood on my porch, the September sun warm on our shoulders. "I want to help while Jamal is in school," I told her, pulling the card from my pocket. "This is connected to a separate account. It's not much, but it's enough to cover groceries and gas until he finishes his program." Her eyes locked onto that card like it was a lifeline. "Mama Eve, I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything, but I need you to understand something." I'm holding the card back for a moment, making sure she was listening. "This is for essentials only. Groceries, gas, things the family needs to survive. Not wants, needs. Do you understand?" She nodded, her expression serious. Yes, ma'am, I understand. I'm trusting you, Tiana. This isn't a lot of money, but it's what I can spare. I need to know you'll respect that. I will, she said, taking the card from my hand with both of hers like it was something sacred. Mama Eve, you don't know what this means to us. You don't know how scared I've been about keeping food on the table. Thank you. Thank you so much. The first 2 weeks were exactly what I expected. I'd check my account every few days just to keep an eye on things. The charges were normal, reasonable. $23 at Flute Lion, $38 at Kroger, $15 for gas at the Shell station on Broad Street, $42 at Walmart. Nothing alarming, nothing that made me question my decision. Tiana was doing exactly what she'd promised, using the card for essentials, feeding her family, keeping the car running so the kids could get to school. I felt validated in my choice to help. But then, slowly, like a crack in a windshield that starts small and spreads, things began to change. Week 3, I saw a charge for $67 at a place called Glamour Nails and Spa. I stared at it for a moment, confused. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe she'd bought something else there. Some places have misleading names. I let it go. 3 days later, $83 at a boutique called Chic and Unique. My stomach tightened just a little, but I talked myself down. Maybe she needed clothes for a job interview. Maybe Jamal needed something for school. There could be a reasonable explanation. I didn't call her. I didn't want to seem like I was hovering or distrusting or controlling. I'd given her the card. I'd said I trusted her. Calling to question every charge would make me look like I was going back on my word. So I waited. But the charges kept coming. $115 at a restaurant I'd never heard of. Not fast food, not a family place, an upscale spot downtown. $42 on DoorDash. Another $58 on DoorDash 2 days later. $93 at a store called Lux Beauty Supply. Each charge felt like a small betrayal, but I kept making excuses. Maybe the kids needed special products. Maybe she was buying gifts for someone's birthday. Maybe Jamal had approved these purchases and just hadn't told me. I was lying to myself, and somewhere deep down, I knew it. But then came the charge that shattered every excuse I'd built. $329. Luxury Tresses Lounge. I had to read it 3 times before my brain accepted what my eyes were seeing. $329 at a hair salon. My hand started shaking. That was more than my car payment, more than my monthly electric bill, more than I spent on groceries for myself in an entire month. And she'd spend it on hair. While my son was in class trying to build a better future for his family, while those same kids she claimed to be so worried about feeding were eating discount cereal and off-brand snacks. I sat at my kitchen table with my phone in my hand, staring at that number until the screen went dark. Part of me wanted to call her immediately, demand an explanation, ask her what in God's name she was thinking. But another part of me, the part that survived cancer and loss and 38 years of difficult people, told me to wait. So I did. I watched. 3 days later, another alert. $329. Same place, same amount. She'd gone back. That's when I knew. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't her needing something essential and making a poor choice in a moment of weakness. This was deliberate. This was disrespect. This was theft dressed up in lace front wigs and acrylic nails. And it was about to come to a head whether I was ready for it or not. Thursday afternoon. Trash day. The neighborhood was quiet except for the distant sound of kids playing basketball down the street. I was sitting on my porch with a glass of sweet tea, trying to calm the storm brewing in my chest. The second $329 charge sat heavy in my mind, like a stone I couldn't swallow. I knew I needed to address it. I just didn't know how yet. That's when Jamal's car turned onto my street. The moment I saw his face through the windshield, I knew he'd found out. He parked at the curb and sat there for a full minute, engine off, hands gripping the steering wheel like he was trying to hold himself together. Finally, he got out, walked up my driveway with his head down, climbed my porch steps with shoulders that looked like they were carrying concrete blocks. He sat down in the chair next to mine, without looking at me. We sat in silence. The basketball echoed in the distance. A dog barked 2 houses down. Life moved around us while we sat frozen in this moment neither of us wanted to be in. "Mama," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Did you tell Tiana she could use that card for whatever she wanted?" The question hit me like a slap. "What?" He turned to look at me then, and I saw it in his eyes. Exhaustion, embarrassment, pain. "Did you tell her the card was for anything she needed, not just groceries and gas, anything?" "No." My voice came out sharper than I intended. "I told her essentials, groceries and gas. I was very clear about that, Jamal." He nodded slowly, his jaw clenching and unclenching. "That's what I thought." "Why? What did she tell you?" "She said you offered her the card with no restrictions. She said you told her to use it for whatever the family needed, and now you're trying to embarrass her by acting like she's stealing from you." My blood pressure spiked so fast I felt dizzy. "Stealing? She said I accused her of stealing?" "She said you're making her feel like a criminal for using money you gave her permission to spend." I opened my mouth to respond, but before I could get a word out, his phone rang. He looked at the screen, and I watched his whole body tense. "It's her. Don't answer it." But he already had. "Hey, T." Her voice exploded through the phone so loud I heard every syllable. "I know your mama ain't over there trying to start no mess with you about that card. She the one who gave it to me. She the one who said use it for what we need. Now she want to act brand new?" Jamal's eyes closed. "T, calm down. Nah, I'm tired of her always having something to say about what I do, about how I look, about how I spend money. If she got such a big problem with it, she can cancel the card herself." My hands gripped the arms of my chair. "Matter of fact, tell her to do it. Cancel it. I don't need her charity. I don't need her judging me every 5 minutes. I ain't about to beg that old lady for nothing." Old lady. The words hung in the air like smoke from a gun. Jamal's face crumpled. He slowly lowered the phone from his ear, though the call was still connected. I could hear her still ranting in the background, her voice getting higher and more hostile. "Mama."
I called Nadine into the living room and told her what Monica had said. She sat down hard on the couch, her mouth open. He was stealing from his own job? That's what she said. Copper coils, tools. They have him on camera. Nadine shook her head slowly. "Rain, do you know what this means?" I didn't answer because I wasn't sure I wanted to say it out loud. "It means," Nadine continued, "that Harold was planning to fund a whole new life with her, and you were just collateral damage." The words hit me harder than I expected, because they were true. Harold hadn't left me because I hurt him or betrayed him. He left me because I was in the way of what he really wanted. A fresh start with someone younger, someone who didn't know him well enough to ask questions. And the money he was stealing, that was supposed to be their nest egg. They're beginning. Except it all fell apart. What do you think is going to happen to him? I asked quietly. Nadine crossed her arms. If they're pressing charges, he could be looking at jail time. At the very least, he'll have a criminal record. Good luck finding another job after that. I should have felt satisfaction, maybe even relief. But all I felt was tired. Tired of the lies, tired of the betrayal, tired of loving someone who never loved me the same way. Later that afternoon, Tanya called. She'd heard about Harold's termination through a friend who worked at the plant. Mama, is it true? Did Daddy really get fired for stealing? Yes, baby, it's true. There was a long silence on the other end. Then Tanya said something I'll never forget. Good. I blinked. Tanya. No, Mama, I mean it. He threw you out. He humiliated you. He tried to steal from you. And now he's paying for it. That's not me being mean. That's just consequences. She was right. But hearing my daughter say it so plainly made me realize how much damage Harold had done. Not just to me, but to our whole family. Are you okay? I asked her. I'm angry, she admitted, but I'm more worried about you. Are you really okay? I thought about it. Was I okay? No. Not yet. But I would be. I'm getting there, I told her. Over the next 2 days, I stayed at Nadine's house trying to figure out my next steps. I needed to find my own place. I needed to rebuild. I needed to move forward. But part of me kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. And sure enough, it did. On the second day after I found out about Harold's arrest, there was a knock at Nadine's door. I was in the kitchen making coffee. Nadine was in the backyard watering her plants. So I walked to the door and opened it without thinking. And there he was, Harold. He looked terrible. His clothes were wrinkled, his beard was unshaven, his eyes were red and swollen like he'd been crying. For a moment, neither of us said anything. Then he spoke, his voice hoarse. Rain, can I come in? Every part of me wanted to slam the door in his face, but I didn't. I don't know why. Maybe I needed to hear what he had to say. Maybe I needed closure. Or maybe I just needed to see him broken the way he broke me. I stepped aside and let him in. He sat down on Nadine's couch, and I sat across from him in the armchair. We didn't speak for a long time. Finally, Harold broke the silence. I messed up. I didn't respond. I messed up bad, Rain. I thought you were hiding money so you could leave me. I thought you didn't respect me. You thought wrong, I said, my voice steady. About all of it. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. I know that now. But Delilah, she made me believe. Don't you dare blame her, I interrupted. You made your own choices, Harold. You filed for divorce. You threw me out. You tried to steal from me. That was all you. He dropped his head into his hands. I lost everything, Rain. My job, Delilah, everything. I leaned forward. What happened with Delilah? He looked up, his face twisted with pain. When she found out I got fired, she left, took what little money I had in my personal account, and blocked me. She said she didn't sign up for a broke man. So she'd used him the same way he tried to use me. Justice really does come full circle. I thought that was the end of his lesson, but there was one more surprise.
3 days passed. No calls, no texts, no apologies. Just silence that felt louder than any argument. I went about my routine, morning prayers, breakfast, light housework, afternoon porch time, evening TV. But underneath the normalcy, worry gnawed at me like a dog with the bone. Were the babies eating? Was Jamal able to manage between school and trying to provide? Had Tiana swallowed her pride yet? One day 4, DeAndre called me. Mama, you know what's going on with Jamal and Tiana. I know some of it. Why? Because Tiana just called me asking if I could loan her $200 for groceries. She said y'all had a fight and you cut her off. My jaw tightened. What did you tell her? I told her I'd have to call you first. She got mad and hung up on me. Smart boy. At least one of my sons knew better than to get played. Don't give her anything, I said. Not until this gets resolved properly. Mama, are the kids okay? Jamal says they need groceries. Then why don't you just... Because this isn't about groceries, baby. This is about respect. And until she learns that lesson, nothing's gonna change. He was quiet for a moment. You're tougher than I'd be. That's because I raised you to have a soft heart. But sometimes soft hearts get taken advantage of. Sometimes you have to be tough to protect yourself. That evening, Jamal called again. Mama, Tiana needs to buy groceries for the kids. They're running low on everything. I closed my eyes and prayed for strength. Tell her to call me herself. She won't. Then I guess she'll find another way. Mama. Jamal, listen to me. I will not reward disrespect. I will not teach my grandbabies that you can treat people wrong and still get what you want. If their mother is too proud to pick up the phone and have an honest conversation, that's her choice. But it's not my problem to solve. So you're just going to let the kids go hungry? The accusation in his voice stung worse than anything Tiana had said. You know better than that, I said quietly. You know I would never let those babies suffer. But their mother needs to be a mother. She needs to put her pride aside and do what's necessary for her children. That's what parents do. He sighed heavily. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. Then maybe it's time to have a serious conversation with your wife about priorities. After we hung up, I sat on my porch and let the tears come. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. I'd helped them out of love, and somehow it had turned into this. A standoff where innocent children were caught in the crossfire of adult pride and poor choices. But I couldn't back down. Not yet. Because if I gave in now, Tiana would learn she could manipulate me with guilt whenever she wanted something. And that lesson would hurt us all far worse in the long run. So I waited and prayed and hoped that someone would come to their senses before things got worse. I had no idea how much worse they were about to get. Day 6 brought something I never expected. My phone rang just after lunch. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. Hello? Ms. Eve? The voice was shaky, older, familiar, but strange. This is Dorothy, Tiana's mama. I sat up straight. Dorothy and I had always been cordial. We'd talked at family gatherings, shared recipes, complimented each other's cooking. She was a church woman, quiet and humble, the kind of mother who believed in prayer and hard work. Hi, Dorothy. How are you? Not good, baby. Not good at all. She paused, and I heard her take a trembling breath. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Okay. Did you cancel the debit card you gave Tiana? My stomach dropped. Yes, I did. A long pain sigh came through the phone. Oh, Lord. Oh, Jesus. Her voice cracked. Miss Eve, did she tell you why she needed that card so bad? Everything in me went cold. What do you mean? Dorothy was quiet for so long I thought the call had dropped. Dorothy? Baby, she whispered, and I could hear tears in her voice. My daughter owes money, a lot of money. And the people she owes it to, they're not the kind you play games with. The room started to tilt. What kind of money? I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know the answer. The kind you borrow when you're desperate and spend when you're not thinking straight. She got in over her head, Miss Eve, way over her head. How much? I don't know exactly, but it's thousands. And these people, her voice broke completely. These people showed up at my house last night looking for her. Banging on my door at 10 o'clock, said she gave them my address when she couldn't pay. My hand started shaking so badly I had to grip the phone with both hands. They threatened me, Dorothy continued, crying openly now. Told me if Tiana doesn't pay what she owes by the end of the month, they're coming back. And they won't be nice next time. Dorothy, have you called the police? And tell them what? That my daughter borrowed money from loan sharks and can't pay it back? They'll arrest her, Ms. Eve. She'll go to jail. And then what happens to those babies? I stood up, pacing my kitchen, trying to process what I was hearing. Does Jamal know about this? I don't think so. Tiana's been hiding it from everybody. But when you canceled that card, she panicked. That's why she's been so angry. She was using your money to make payments. The full weight of it hit me like a freight train. All those charges, the hair salon, the nails, the boutiques, none of it was real. She wasn't being vain or irresponsible. She was covering her tracks, making it look like she was just being frivolous so nobody would dig deeper and find out the truth. Miss Eve, I'm not calling to make excuses for her. What she did to you was wrong. But I'm calling because I'm scared. I'm scared for my grandbabies. I'm scared for my daughter. And I don't know what to do. I sank back into my chair, my mind racing. Dorothy, Jamal needs to know about this. I know, but she made me promise not to tell him. She's terrified he'll leave her. He might, but keeping... That evening, Jamal showed up at my house unannounced. I opened the door and immediately knew something was devastatingly wrong. His eyes were bloodshot. His shirt was wrinkled. His hands were shaking. "Mama," he said, voice hollow, "I found out everything." I stepped aside and let him in. He walked straight to my sofa and collapsed onto it like his legs had given out. For a long moment, he just sat there with his head in his hands, breathing like he'd run a marathon. I sat down next to him and waited. "She's been lying to me," he finally said, "about everything." "Tell me." And he did. For the next 15 minutes, my son poured out a story that broke my heart into pieces. Tiana had taken out loans behind his back, multiple loans from multiple sources, some from legitimate payday loan places, others from people who operated in shadows and back alleys. She'd been gambling online, started small with $5 bets on her phone, then 10, then 50, then hundreds. Chasing losses, convinced the next bet would win it all back. It never did. She'd used my card to cover the loan payments, hoping nobody would notice, hoping she'd hit it big and pay everything back before anyone found out. "But that's not even the worst part," Jamal said, and his voice cracked. "Mama, she was planning to leave me." The room went silent except for the sound of my old clock ticking on the wall. "What?" She found messages on her phone. She'd been talking to some guy she met online, telling him about her financial problems. He told her she deserved better than a broke mechanic going to community college. Tears ran down his face, and he didn't bother wiping them away. She's told him she's only staying because my mama is helping us financially. She said, and I quote, "Once his mama stops paying for everything, I'm done. I'll find someone who can actually take care of me." Each word felt like a knife to my chest. Jamal, I'd been killing myself in school, working part-time, trying to build a better life for our family, and she's been shopping for my replacement. I pulled him into my arms the way I used to when he was a little boy with scraped knees and hurt feelings. But this wasn't a scraped knee. This was a shattered heart. "I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry." We sat like that for a long time, him crying into my shoulder while I held him and felt my own tears fall. "What am I supposed to do?" he finally asked, pulling back to look at me with red, swollen eyes. "I have kids with her. I made vows. But how do I stay with someone who's been lying to my face every single day?" I didn't have an answer. "Jamal, the debt, it's bad, really bad. I don't know how we're going to pay it back without—" He stopped mid-sentence. "Without what?" He looked away. "She asked if you could loan us the money to pay off the loan sharks? The audacity nearly took my breath away. She asked you to ask." The next day felt like the calm before a hurricane. I cleaned my house even though it was already clean. Made a fresh pitcher of tea even though I didn't want any. Sat on my porch waiting even though I wasn't sure she'd actually show up. But at 2:30 in the afternoon, a car pulled up to my curb. Tiana got out slowly, and for the first time since I'd known her, she looked small. No makeup, hair pulled back in the simple ponytail, dark circles under her eyes. She was wearing an old t-shirt and jeans, nothing fancy, nothing designed to impress. She looked like a woman who lost. She walked up my driveway with her arms wrapped around herself like she was cold despite the warm afternoon sun. When she reached my porch, we locked eyes. Neither of us spoke for what felt like an eternity. "You wanted to talk," I finally said. "So talk." She shifted her weight from one foot to the other, looking everywhere except at me. "I'm only here because Jamal said I had to come." "I know." "So, can I come in, or are we doing this out here?" "Out here is fine." She flinched like I had slapped her. "Look, I know you're mad, but I didn't do anything wrong. Stop." My voice came out harder than I intended. "Don't you dare stand on my porch and lie to my face. Not after everything I know now." Her eyes widened. "What did Jamal tell you?" "Everything. The loans, the gambling, the messages to another man, all of it." The color drained from her face. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it, Tiana? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you used me, lied to my son, and put my grandbabies in danger. So please explain to me what I'm not understanding." Her jaw clenched, and for a moment I saw a flash of the anger I'd heard over the phone that day, the defiance, the pride. "You really think you're better than me, don't you?" she said, voice shaking. "Standing up here in your paid-off house with your perfect life, judging me for making mistakes. This isn't about judging you. This is about you showing me who you really are." "I made some bad choices, okay? Is that what you want to hear? I messed up. But you didn't have to cancel that car like I was some kind of criminal. You spent over $600 at a hair salon in 1 week while telling my son you didn't have money to feed his children. What would you call that?" She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "I was scared," she finally whispered. "Of what?" "Of losing everything. Of not being able to pay those people back." I didn't answer her right away. Instead, I sat down in my porch chair and gestured for her to sit in the one next to mine. She did, slowly, like a child expecting punishment. "I'm not giving you money," I said firmly. "Not $1. Not for the loans, not for groceries, not for anything." Her face fell, but she nodded. "But I am going to help you." She looked up confused. How? First, Jamal's going to help you contact a debt counselor. There are people who negotiate with creditors, even the illegal ones. It won't be easy and it won't be fast, but it's the right way. Okay. Second, you're going to get help for the gambling. It's an addiction, Tiana, just like drugs or alcohol. You need professional treatment, not just a promise to stop. She started crying again, but nodded. Third, you're going to sit down with Jamal and have a real conversation. No lies, no hiding. Tell him everything, show him everything, and let him decide if he wants to stay or go, because you don't get to make that choice for him by lying. He's going to leave me, she whispered. Maybe, maybe not, but he deserves the truth. She wrapped her arms around herself again. What about the kids? The kids will be fine. They have me, they have their daddy, they have Dorothy. They'll eat, they'll be safe. But you need to get yourself right before you can be the mother they need. How do I do that? By taking responsibility, by accepting help, by stopping the lies and the pride and the running away from problems. I looked at her directly, and by understanding that respect isn't something people owe you, it's something you earn. She was quiet for a long moment. Why are you helping me after everything I did? I thought about that question. Because my grandbabies need their mother. Because my son loved you enough to marry you. And because somewhere under all those lies and mistakes, I still believe there's a person worth saving. I don't deserve your kindness. No, you don't. But that's what grace is. Getting what you don't deserve because someone chooses to love you anyway. She broke down completely then, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. I let her cry. When she finally calmed down, she looked at me with swollen, exhausted eyes. Thank you, Mama Eve. Don't thank me yet. The hard work is just starting. And if you ever disrespect me or my family again, there won't be another chance. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am. Good. Now go home. Talk to your husband. Be honest. And start fixing what you broke. She stood up slowly and started walking toward her car. Halfway down the driveway, she turned back. Mama Eve, I really am sorry. I know, baby. Now go prove it. That was 6 months ago. A lot has changed since then. Tiana got help, real help. She's been in counseling for her gambling addiction and seeing a therapist for her self-worth